If you like what I do, consider joining my channel or donating to my coffee. Links in the description. The Momodora series has had an interesting evolution. What started out as a cave story homage in the series' first 3 games took a drastic shift in its 4th and most popular entry, Momodora, Reverie Under the Moonlight, where it took influence from Hollow Knight and Bloodborne of all places. Reverie Under the Moonlight also saw the series take on its now iconic visual style, and this art direction has recently reached a new apex in its latest installment, Momodora, Moonlit Farewell. In Moonlit Farewell, you play as Momo, a high priestess from the village of Kaho. One day, the ominous tolling of a bell echoes throughout the land, and demons soon follow. Taking up her signature white robe and sacred leaf, Momo heads into the forest to confront the demons and uncover the mystery behind the unholy bell. After a brief hiatus, it feels great to be back in Momo's shoes, or black stockings, I guess. And the series has never looked so good. Considering Moonlit Farewell is the last in the series, let's hope the franchise ends on a high note.
Combat
in Momodora Moonlit Farewell keeps things simple and straightforward, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Momo has access to a quick ground combo, and her strangely effective leaf attacks feel oddly weighty and powerful. And the combo ends with a nice touch, with Momo chucking her leaf like a boomerang, giving it a satisfying range to finish. Alongside her melee combo, Momo has a bow and arrow, perfect for dealing chip damage from afar as long as you have stamina. Stamina is key here. Both dodging and using arrows draw from Momo's stamina bar, and once you're out of stamina, you ain't dodging or shooting until it replenishes. Though, you can still smack enemies with your leaf if you want to. Momo's dodge roll comes with iframes, and if you dodge at the right moment, you'll activate a perfect dodge, avoiding damage at 0 stamina cost. A perfect risk-reward synergy. The game's enemies are simple yet deceptive. At first, you might feel overpowered since Momo's attacks can stun-lock most enemies, making them laughably easy to deal with. However, there's a catch. Enemies hit like a goddamn truck. Even basic enemies can kill Momo in just 2 to 3 hits, so the game rewards careful play and smart stamina management. You might feel strong, but carelessness is quickly punished, especially when the game locks you in an arena battle while exploring. These forced combat encounters are probably the most threatening thing in Moonlit Farewell, and a welcome change of pace. Thankfully, Momo isn't entirely defenseless. She has a bell that restores HP, provided she has enough MP to use it. MP, displayed under Momo's health bar, is mostly used for healing, but has other uses tied in the sigil system, which I'll dive into later in the progression section. Boss fights are a mixed bag. While they're immune to stun locking, bosses often have long pauses in their attack patterns where they just stand still. This gives you plenty of time to wail on them with your leaf, which looks a little silly but is cathartic nonetheless. Boss designs are interesting, but the fights themselves are pretty easy overall. It's fair to say the bosses feel more like bulkier, harder hitting enemies rather than intricate, challenging encounters. And that'll do it for combat. Combat in Momodora Moonlit Farewell is simple yet effective, with a good mix of melee and ranged options tied to a stamina system. While enemies are easy to stun lock, their punishing damage ensures you stay on your toes. The perfect dodge mechanic adds a rewarding risk-reward dynamic, and the healing bell provides a nice safety net as long as you manage your MP. Boss fights, while visually impressive, feel underwhelming due to predictable patterns and extended windows of inactivity. Overall, combat is accessible and enjoyable, though it lacks the depth some players might be looking for.
Abilities. Platforming.
Momo's toolkit in Moonlit Farewell is functional but unremarkable. She gets a set of classic Metroidvania abilities, a double jump, a dash, and a wall jump. While these are essential for traversal, they're nothing new or particularly interesting for veterans of the genre. That said, near the end of the game, Momo does gain one unique ability. Without spoiling anything, This late game skill stands out as slightly more interesting, but still doesn't do much to elevate the overall traversal mechanics. It's more of a narrative addition, and I always dig it when MVs do that. When it comes to platforming, there's not a lot to highlight. The moment-to-moment platforming feels smooth, but it's primarily about positioning to avoid enemy attacks rather than overcoming intricate platforming challenges. Moonlit Farewell opts to focus more on navigation and exploration rather than presenting players with difficult platforming sections. The core gameplay loop revolves around navigating the map, flipping switches, and unlocking shortcuts. While these elements are solid, they won't test players' platforming skills or offer memorable sequences. The simplicity of the platforming keeps the focus on exploration and combat rather than precision gameplay. Though, the game does like to mix things up by adding gimmicks to biomes, like the geysers and fairy springs that pop Momo into the air, the mud that slows you down in the Ashen Hinterlands, and the Demon Frontier's darkness. So, it's not like the game's platforming is completely uninteresting. And that's it for this section. In short, while Momo's abilities are useful and her movement feels polished, the lack of creative traversal mechanics or challenging platforming sections makes this aspect of Moonlit Farewell feel serviceable but unremarkable. It's clear the game's strengths lie elsewhere.
Progression.
Moonlit Farewell sticks closely to the Metroid-like formula, focusing on exploration rather than traditional RPG elements. There's no experience system, leveling, skill trees, or gear. Instead, enhancing Momo's abilities revolves entirely around what you uncover during your journey. The most common progression items are berries. These come in a few different types. Some increase your HP, others boost your MP or stamina recovery, and some don't do anything at all. It's a quirky touch, but finding a useless berry always pisses me off. The real stars of progression, though, are the Heavenly Lilies. Praying to these bad boys increases Momo's attack power, which is the best upgrade. We only do strength builds on this channel, baby. Even when you're playing as a small girl with a giant magical leaf. Especially when you're playing as a small girl with a giant magical leaf. In addition to stat upgrades, you'll also find sigils, which act as modifiers for Momo's abilities. These tarot-style cards offer significant changes, like supercharging your arrows when your stamina is full, enabling healing beyond your max HP, or adding other unique twists. Each sigil is impactful, and discovering one feels like a genuine reward. Most of them are awesome, though some, like the one that reduces your max HP to 1, are more like challenges for masochists. Sigils can also be purchased from Cereza, Momo's companion and shopkeeper, who follows her around the world. While Cereza's inventory expands as you progress, it's inexplicably tied to an affinity system. Talking to her when she has a red speech bubble over her head improves the two's friendship, opening up more sigils to buy. While this mechanic adds a little flavor, it feels underdeveloped, especially since no other NPCs have similar affinity systems. Speaking of NPCs, many of them offer side quests, which add variety and depth. These quests range from tackling secret bosses to finding hidden fairies scattered throughout the map, with the occasional fetch quest thrown in for good measure. The rewards for completing these quests are consistently worthwhile, whether they involve new sigils or upgrades to your bell. Lastly, let's talk about the companions. These adorable little dudes follow Momo around and provide small, yet helpful benefits. They can restore MP, collect money, or even attack enemies. But let's be honest, their primary job is just to look ridiculously cute, and they do it exceptionally well. Sometimes, a tiny adorable companion is all you really need to brighten your adventure. That's it for progression. Moonlit Farewell may lack traditional RPG mechanics, but it excels at rewarding exploration. With stat-boosting items like berries and heavenly lilies, unique gameplay-altering sigils, and a host of adorable companions, progression feels natural and satisfying. Side quests and quirky mechanics like Cereza's affinity system round out a solid exploration-based progression loop.
Exploration.
Up to this point, I've done my best not to compare Moonlit Farewell to its predecessor, Reverie Under the Moonlight, mostly because I think the two games are on par in many Metroidvania aspects. But I can't ignore the fact that Moonlit Farewell has taken a hard hit when it comes to exploration. Unlike Reverie, this game is far more linear, with only a handful of opportunities for optional branching paths or required backtracking. That said, Moonlit Farewell is still fun to explore. Even within its more linear structure, Moonlit Farewell has a much bigger scope than Reverie's claustrophobic cityscape, and Moonlit Farewell's exploration feels very rewarding. Whether you're hunting for berries to boost Momo's stats, sigils to modify her abilities, or fairies and heavenly lilies, the game ensures you're always finding something worthwhile. Scouring every corner of Momo's world consistently pays off, so venturing off the main path whenever possible was always a great idea. On top of that, just seeing Momo's world is its own reward. The game is absolutely gorgeous, and every new biome introduces beautiful environments to soak in. Even the enemies contribute to this, with their great designs making them a wonder to behold, right before they try to claw your eyes out. Now, let's talk about the map. The map in Moonlit Farewell it's fine. It gets the job done. It's not very detailed, and you can't mark it up, but the game does automatically mark points of interest with question marks, and I think that works well enough. On top of that, the inclusion of a minimap is fantastic. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, more Metroidvanias need minimaps. Fast travel, however, is where things stumble. You don't unlock fast travel until over halfway through the game, and even then, it feels arbitrarily limited. Instead of being able to fast travel to any save point, you can only travel to specific ones. Once I did unlock fast travel, the game finally opened up in a satisfying way, and revisiting areas to find missed items became much more tolerable. Before that point, backtracking was a chore. Momo's default speed is painfully slow, and since her dash is tied to stamina, traversing the same areas over and over again is far from enjoyable. In short, unlocking fast travel was a game changer, but it came way too late to make early backtracking appealing. That's it for exploration. Moonlit Farewell may have taken a hit with its more linear design, but it's still enjoyable thanks to its rewarding collectibles and stunning visuals. While the map and minimap are helpful, backtracking is just not something you want to do until you unlock fast travel pretty late in the game. It's fun to explore, but Moonlit Farewell never quite captures the magic of its predecessor.
Atmosphere. Narrative.
Moonlit Farewell's atmosphere is undeniably its best strength and a remarkable upgrade over the widely loved visuals of Reverie Under the Moonlight. Sprites are absolutely gorgeous, featuring incredible shading effects that give them an impressive sense of depth and polish. Adding to this, the animations are so smooth, so much so that I can't begin to fathom how much work went into animating some of the larger sprites. It's an incredible showcase of craftsmanship. Whether it's NPCs, enemies, or Momo herself, every character feels emotive, with animated reactions that add life and charm to the world. The sound design ties the progression together beautifully. Every swing of Momo's leaf, the booms from explosions, and enemy groans after taking a hit all have satisfying weight. The audio gives combat a sense of impact that elevates even the simplest interactions. I especially loved the little touches, like the loud gong and the rippling effect when striking a save bell. Small details like that add up to create something special. The music is pretty good too. While none of the tracks stood out as particularly memorable beyond the now iconic Momodora boss battle theme, every piece complemented its environment perfectly. Whether you're navigating a lush forest or eerie catacombs, the music enhances each area's mood. What really impressed me though was the special effects. Flaming swords, swirling blades, and dazzling particle effects light up the screen during battles. Sometimes the sheer number of effects can get distracting, but honestly, I never minded because it all just looked so cool. Moonlit Farewell thrives on these little visual flourishes, making every action feel impactful and stylish. Overall, Moonlit Farewell's presentation, from visuals to sound design, sets a new standard for the series and delivers a fantastic atmosphere that keeps you engaged throughout the journey. When it comes to narrative though, things are far more straightforward. This is your basic tale of heroism. Something bad happens, and the hero sets out to save the day. There's nothing particularly groundbreaking here, and it doesn't dive any deeper than that. For players who want a little more context, there's optional lore you can dig into through the game's menus. This lore serves mostly as a refresher for newcomers who haven't played the previous Momodora games. If you're curious about Momo's past adventures, you can catch up without having to play all the prior entries. It's a nice touch for those new to the series. That said, I did find the narrative a little disappointing in two key areas. First, there's only one ending. Given the series' legacy with Reverie, I was hoping for multiple endings. Second, while Moonlit Farewell does feature post-game content, you don't get to play as Isadora, Momo's partner since the second game and the protagonist of the first. Isadora plays a significant role in the story, so it feels like a missed opportunity to let players experience her abilities in a New Game Plus mode or as an alternate playable character. That'll do it for this section. While Moonlit Farewell delivers a breathtaking atmosphere and stunning presentation, complete with beautiful sprites, smooth animations, and satisfying sound design, the narrative plays it safe with a basic hero's tale. Optional lore adds some depth, but the lack of multiple endings and missed opportunities with Isadora hold it back from reaching its full potential. Still, the game's audiovisual polish and attention to detail make it a joy to experience.
Final thoughts and score.
Momodora Moonlit Farewell shines brightest with its beautiful presentation and atmosphere, offering lush visuals, smooth animations, and satisfying sound design that elevate the experience. While the combat is simple yet satisfying, and exploration rewards you with a constant flow of meaningful upgrades, the linear map design and lack of challenging platforming leaves something to be desired. The narrative, while serviceable, plays things a bit too safe, missing opportunities to add depth or variety, like multiple endings or additional playable characters. Despite these shortcomings, Moonlit Farewell remains an enjoyable and polished Metroidvania, even if it doesn't quite live up to the highs of its predecessor. I award Momodora Moonlit Farewell an 8 out of 10. Momodora Moonlit Farewell is currently only on PC, but console versions for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and Nintendo Switch are scheduled for release in early 2025. I completed Momodora Moonlit Farewell in about 9 hours with well over 90% completion. I played the game entirely on my Steam Deck with 0 issues, and thus award the game a Steam Deck rating of verified.
Pair placement.
Momodora Moonlit Farewell is a solid Metroidvania that excels in atmosphere and presentation, but doesn't quite reach the heights of top-tier titles due to its linearity, lackluster bosses, and uninspired platforming. It's a game fans of the series or newcomers will enjoy, but it won't blow away veterans looking for deep exploration or groundbreaking mechanics. Momodora Moonlit Farewell purifies itself in the B tier. Moonlit Farewell is a polished and beautiful Metroidvania with a straightforward experience that plays it safe, and sometimes that's okay. I know this review may seem like I wasn't very fond of the game, but that's actually not true. I liked Moonlit Farewell. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it. Mostly for its vibes, to be honest. Moonlit Farewell feels very cozy, if that makes sense. It's got a world I just like to be in, and it's relatively stress-free with its more lax difficulty and linear structure. And it's brimming with so much charm. It's tough to look at it and not fall in love. While Momodora Moonlit Farewell may not reinvent the Metroidvania genre, its captivating visuals and fun gameplay make it a pleasant adventure. It's not perfect, but it definitely leaves a good impression.